Hi, my name is Megan Rao, and this is my vlog on the informative speech. I will start with the question prompts. Number one was, what was the purpose of the speech? The purpose of the speech was to help make the audience more aware about the topic. It was also to help give the audience more knowledge. Number two, how did you feel going into this speech presentation? I felt nervous going into the first big presentation. I felt that I didn't have enough time to put together a speech the way that followed the rubric correctly. Number three, briefly define speaker ethos. How did you work to make sure your speaker ethos was high? Refer to page 92 and 93 of your textbook. Speaker ethos is your credibility as a speaker. What I found on page 92 and 93, what I used to make sure that my speaker ethos was high was reasoning by sign, which occurs when the presence of one thing indicates the presence of another. In abusive relationships, verbal abuse usually leads to emotional abuse, and then these types of abuse can also lead to physical abuse. Number four, was your technology adequately prepared? What could be done differently or better? Technology-wise, everything worked well. The only thing that I would have changed was it would have been nice to be able to start working on the presentation sooner instead of having to wait for a rough draft outline. But technology is what it is with an online class. Number five. What principles did you keep in mind when creating and designing your PowerPoint presentation? Give one or two tips for effectively using PowerPoint. The two things that I kept in mind during the PowerPoint was to keep it professional and clear. It's important to not stray from the topic and to keep the PowerPoint slides in a professional manner. It is also important to keep your wording clear and concise on the slides. Number six. In terms of structure and organization, for example, introductory, strategy, transitions, or the conclusion, what element felt natural to you and what felt odd? The way that the teacher wanted us to do a closing information section in between each of the main points, I found was difficult and it felt odd. And then easing into the next transition. So instead of doing the information section, closing the first main point, I just continued on to the second transition, and then I put together all of the closing informations that I had put together, and I put those into my conclusion. It felt natural doing the conclusion. Number seven, how did you consider your audience when developing your speech? I took into consideration that aiming it towards college kids might catch your attentions a little bit better. Number eight, what did you do in your speech that worked? What didn't work? What areas can you target for improvement? A lot of my information that I chose worked in my presentation, but then I had way too much information. My speech, when I had everything that I wanted in it, was 7 minutes and 45 seconds. I had to delete some slides, rearrange how I worded things, and I had to delete and get rid of some of my presentation. Number 9. Connect your learned experiences to the class readings and concepts. Include at least one specific chapter with a page number from the section to which you're referring. In chapter 13 on page 99, when explaining complex information to people who are unfamiliar with it, proper organization of your speech is essential. In the development of the speech, you must determine the most effective way to present complicated information to the audience. Sometimes it's as simple as laying a sequence of steps, but often it is more complex.